I don't know if I'll ever fully understand it. But when I use a large language model, I'm actually engaged in a very different set of skills.
He's an award-winning educator. He's got 14 years of experience teaching. He's been a TEDx speaker, and he provides professional development and services and resources to universities and corporations. And his session today is on an introduction to LLM literacy. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, France. I appreciate that. Hi, everyone. I am really excited to be here. I have this concept that I've been just waiting to get out into the world. And so I'm really excited to share it with you all and hear what you have to think. I call it LLM literacy. And you can see in my subtitle, the idea here is to take specifically a humanities-based approach, pedagogical approach, to the concept of safe and effective use of AI. And to illustrate what I mean by this, I'm going to start with a couple of images. The first image you'll see on the screen is of a car engine. And if we were in person right now, I would ask how many people in the room feel like they have a deep understanding of how a car engine works. Because we're on such short time, I'm going to generally assume that the majority of people don't necessarily know the ins and outs of how a car engine works. Now, maybe you're a little bit different. Maybe you know more than the average bear, but assuming that most of us don't, I'm gonna show this next image and see if it sparks some thought for you, because the majority of us drive almost every single day, and yet we don't actually know how the underlying engine works. And I think the implications of this analogy are quite large and strong, because it shows us that for some technological capabilities, the skills that you need to use the technology are quite different from the understanding of how the technology works itself. And I know, as I've been in a lot of AI webinars and workshops, I've experienced a lot of focusing on how the engine works. But when I take a look at this image, which is, as you may recognize, the neural network of a large language model, one, I get a little overwhelmed. Honestly, I feel very similar to how I feel when I look at a car engine. Not only do I not know how it works, but I don't know if I'll ever fully understand it. But when I use a large language model, I'm actually engaged in a very different set of skills. And what I've concluded by looking at my student interactions with AI over the last year is that it's actually really important for us in the context of AI literacy to start separating these skills, start subdividing them into ways that we can more easily understand and start to build separate literacies. I'd like to share this slide with you, and you'll see at the top, the concept is that AI literacy, as much as I love the topic, it is way too big, in my opinion. It encompasses so many different skills. And so what I've tried to do is subdivide it into different disciplines that we already have some access to. So over on the left side of your screen, you'll see what I call machine literacy, or AI technical studies. And this encompasses understanding of statistics, computational thinking, machine learning. This is knowing how the engine works. Now, this is certainly an incredibly valuable skill, but I think it's important that we start separating it out so that it's more palatable for us as individuals, but also our students to understand what's going on. In the middle of the screen, what I've done is combine philosophy and history together. I think you probably could separate them out if you wanted to, but I also think that they dovetail quite nicely, because the philosophy, the issues of data ethics, the questions around how did we even get here in the first place, they often work together quite well. Over on the right side, you'll see my baby, LLM literacy. And this skill is, in my opinion, safe and effective use, responsible use, is really a humanities skill. It's an English language arts skill. It's a creative writing skill. And I think you could argue it also leans on the principles of journalistic thinking. And so what I essentially propose is, as we develop this as faculty groups, we take this approach of saying, okay, what are we learning today? Are we going to focus on machine literacy, or are we going to focus on LLM literacy? Is it time to get into the philosophical and historical discussions, or do we want to talk about responsible use? And the last plug I'll make for this concept is that, in my opinion, the LLM literacy is the one that affects the most people. That's the one. We all drive cars, and we all, whether or not we like it, are probably going to be using AI in some form or another. So this is the one that hits the most broadest number of people. And I hope that as educators, we start to subdivide and take that approach also to make people feel a little bit comfortable. You know how to read and write, and that's what you're doing when you use a large language model. I am coming up on my time, so I can't wait to talk to folks in the breakout room later. And again, my name is Mike Kentz. Thank you.